Hey, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, where I've lived for many years, with an update on the war. In the title, I put in Gaza, Hezbollah, Israel war, but I really should have added in Syria, but I thought I'd wait a few days because it's building up in Syria. We struck Syria last night, Iranian weapons being brought in. It's being built up, okay? It's being built up. And what's going on actually matches the Psalm 83, which is not designated as a war, but it's by Asaph, who is a prophet. They call him a seer in those days. Same thing. And he lists the countries that are going to be attacking Israel. Now, this is also Jacob's trouble, but in Jeremiah 30, maybe it's verse 7, I don't remember the exact verse, but it's in Jeremiah 30, it says, "Great is Jacob's trouble, but he will be saved out of it." Gog and Magog, they're not saved out of it. Half of Jerusalem goes into captivity. That's in Zechariah 14. You see, Gog and Magog is really the great day of the Lord, okay? And it's it's depicted in the whole book of Joel. It's depicted in Zechariah 14 and Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11, okay? Now, if you want to follow the war uh, with the Bible prophecy inserted as we go along, you should follow me on Telegram. I update Telegram at least 100 times a day. Okay, I'm in Israel. All right, these people all around the world that are sitting there telling you what's going on are getting it from somebody else who's getting it from somebody else. When I post the news, it's usually seconds. It can be seconds old or a few minutes old. When I read the big, commercial media, the CNN types, they post things that's usually 12 to 24 hours old. Okay, so if you want to follow the law, I usually update Telegram at least 100 times a day, sometimes 200, and I bring in the Bible prophecy. I put the verses up there. I go through the word meanings. I use King James. And I tie it together with multiple scriptures, interpreting scripture with scripture. Telegram is free. You need to download the app, which is called Telegram Messenger. That's free too. I don't make merchandise out of God's people. Freely you have received and freely you shall give. I don't put price tags on things. I don't sell books. That's not freely you have received, freely you shall give. That's cutting out the people that don't have the money to buy the book. I believe in free will offerings, not price tags. I don't do prophecy conferences where I charge people to pay for the seat. That's making merchandise out of God's people. Freely you have received, freely you shall give. Okay, that's what I do. Okay. Now, Telegram is free, okay? And you're going to get the updates from somebody living in Israel, all right? Now, somebody living in Israel that believes in the Old and the New Testament. Big difference. Okay, so to get my Telegram, you need to download the app Telegram Messenger and then send me an email. My email address is found at the bottom of the description box in the video. I'll read it to you slowly. It's Israel Giving with the number 7 at gmail.com. Israel Giving with the digit 7 at gmail.com. Okay? Just put Telegram in the subject header. You don't have to write anything and waste your time. I'll see Telegram in the subject header. I'll send you the invite link. So you have the Telegram Messenger app installed. You click on the invite link, boom, you're in. Okay? That's it. It's free. And in there, I'll show you where you can get on Telegram red alerts. That means every time Israel has a rocket, a missile, God forbid, a bomb, or a mortar, or a drone, or an infiltration, we get a red alert, and it has maps. It shows you where it was. It names the cities. It gives you the time to the second, and it's real time on Telegram. So maybe there's a, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 second delay. See, you'll get the news as it's happening. Okay, unless I'm sleeping. I've learned that you have to sleep. You also have to stop and eat. If you don't eat and you don't sleep, and I also believe take a shower, you're going to get run down. And I've done that. So I always sleep some, but I make sure I get a good night's rest. Okay. So Israel is attacking voraciously um, Gaza. Now, what I'll cover Hezbollah and Syria. We're using predominantly planes to drop bombs, and we're blowing up houses of the leaders of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the other violent jihadist terrorists. And the United States calls Hamas a terrorist organization. Okay, so they're in their houses sometimes when the bombs fall and stuff like that. This is a accepted procedure that knocks out the leaders. If you keep knocking out enough leaders, you're going to get them into disarray. Sure, they're going to promote the next underling, but the next underling isn't as experienced and seasoned and trained, as well trained and so forth. All right? We've gotten, as of yesterday, 700,000 people to move from northern Gaza, where the attack is coming, down to southern Gaza, where we're not attacking. And the, what do you want to call it, humanitarian aid trucks came in yesterday. And curiously, a lot of people sent them Islamic burial shrouds to bury people in. Weird, huh? And they're getting food and water and medical supplies, and it's going to keep coming into South Gaza. That's happening. Now, a lot of these people do not want to go to South Gaza. They don't want to. What are you going to do? You can't force them. So that's what's happening, okay? Um, we're told by our government that unanimously across the board by everybody in our government that a ground invasion is coming into Gaza. They're still launching missiles to the tune of 1 to 200 a day. Occasionally they go over that. And this is predominantly, but not exclusively, hitting in the area in the south to the east of Gaza, nearby, like Sderot, which has been mostly evacuated. And up to the north of Gaza, they're hitting Ashkelon pretty heavily. And they managed to get missiles up into places like Tel Aviv, Netanya, and other areas. But these are more sophisticated missiles, of which they do not have very many. They did a press release yesterday or this morning that said that they still have 20,000 missiles left. Do I know? No. Does the Israeli military know? Probably to some extent, but they don't release that information, and that's considered intel, and they don't want the Palestinians to know what they know. There's 300 miles of tunnels in Gaza. You heard me. 300 miles of interconnected tunnels. They call it the Metro, named after the London tubes, i.e. the subway system in London. The tunnels are minimally 40 feet under the earth and sometimes under buildings. They're made out of fortified or reinforced concrete. The concrete in tunnels, from pictures I've seen of old tunnel, 6 inches maybe, 4 to 6 inches. They're strong, okay? Now, we can't get those with bombs. There's too much earth to go through. We don't have 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs that cost $12 million, whatever they call it. I don't know what they cost. We don't have that. We're dropping regular bombs, and we got some special. The dogs will quiet in a minute. They're on high alert. They're convinced that Hamas has a dog corps roaming around Israel. So they gave us, okay, Yafi, quiet. So they gave us some special bombs. We tried those. They're too far down. So that's where they're hiding, and the trick is getting them out. And this is a very complicated military thing. It's not simple. You can't flood them. Gaza is too far from where they are. Is too far from the ocean, and to flood 300 miles of tunnels. I mean, you'd have to bring the entire New York City Fire Department here with their trucks full of water, and that would just dent it. I mean, it would be too massive. That's not going to happen. Basically, I think they've got to penetrate the tunnels, and once we're in, we could drill. You could take an excavator. We got plenty of those, or a bulldozer may even help, and move the dirt away and go down 40 feet. That's going to take hours, but it can be done, right? Or you could drill down with a big awl, like what they used to drill for water and oil and things like that. So you could drill through the earth and make a 6 or 8 inch hole, and then when you hit the concrete, you're going to have some type of capability to drill through the concrete, which is not an easy thing to do. It's fortified, reinforced concrete. So it's going to have a lot of rebar in there. It may have rocks. I don't know. Then when you make a hole in the tunnel, it's not a massively complicated thing to basically, in simplistic terms, take a rope and lower an explosive down in there through the hole in the tunnel and have it attached to a detonator, and then the soldiers run a few hundred feet away, push the detonator and boom, the tunnel will collapse. But how many times do we have to do that to disable 300 miles of tunnels? Do you see how difficult this is? It's really difficult. The Israeli military are gifted in being extremely creative and innovative. And they've been brainstorming this for many days. The Americans sent special forces guys over here that specialize in hostage rescue, and I would expect they're pretty knowledgeable on tunnels as well. And this is a massive problem. If you were dealing with a tunnel that was, 2 or 3 miles long, okay. But this is huge. And it's not like the tunnel. It's like Grand Central Station in front of the house. It's like everybody's deciding to walk in front of my house when I do a broadcast. This happens a lot. I wonder why. Yiffy. So somebody had a car. They're getting into a car. So Yaffa. Beulah. Guy's driving away with his stuff. I'm sitting outside because I stay in the house. He's leaving. He's leaving in a minute. I had a job good. genius is making a point of driving away slow. I wonder why this happens whenever I start a broadcast. Sorry about that. So I try to sit out in the morning because it's cool, and then in the evening, during the day, it's still hot here. You know, over 85, even 90. So, Yafa, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Beulah, it's over. Yafa, no more. Stop it. You know, every time I start a broadcast, people are out there. Do I think it's a coincidence? It happens so many times, I don't think it's a coincidence anymore. And I don't announce the broadcast. And there's a lot of false believers in Israel, believe me. I might have to cancel the broadcast I think somebody's provoking the dogs. Oh, somebody's walking by with a dog, and that's war. They're sure the other dog is with them. It'll pass in a second. If it keeps up, I'll just cancel the broadcast. But this happens a lot whenever I do a broadcast. So I don't think it's innocent. Okay. Israel is saturated with false believers. What do I mean? I mean people that are normally not Israelites. They come here on some crazy visa, and they're serving the devil. They know they're serving the devil. They love serving the devil, and they're impersonating Christians or believers, and they're loaded here. Satan pours them in here, you know. Okay, so back to the war. So, shut up, Beulah. Hold on a second. Beulah, it's time to shut up. You understand? Do you understand? You shut up. Shut up. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. It's one dog that provokes the whole thing. So you didn't come here to listen to my dog story, so okay. We're going to go in by ground. I don't know what day. I would think today, tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday. Pretty soon. They want to keep the casualty rate down. These guys are vicious, and they're going to hide everywhere, and they don't really seem to care about getting killed. They're martyrs in their mind. Hezbollah is constantly engaging with us up at the border. They said that they managed, by doing this, to draw 3 divisions of Israeli soldiers up there, depleting the resources we have to go into Gaza. And the fighting is not heavily serious, but there are casualties and deaths. A lot of anti-tank rockets being fired in from Lebanon by the border. Mortars, rifle fire, things of this nature. Okay. Syria front is going to start opening. It's beginning. Iran's loading in soldiers. I think Iraq may load soldiers in, and it's heating up over there. It's going to be a third front pretty soon. Now, this morning on my Telegram, I tied all this together with the Psalm 83 war and Zechariah 12 and Jacob's trouble. It's on Telegram. So, somebody else is walking by. See, I could sit here and nobody walks by for an hour and a half, and then I do a broadcast, and look, you know, I get like Grand Central Station here, you know, like JFK Airport or something. I live in a small village. They don't even have paved sidewalks, and all these people walk by. So I'm going to have to start putting spiritual warfare on the people who walk by. They won't walk by anymore, unless it's innocent, but I don't think so. Too many. So there'll be a three-front war, I'm sure, before the end of the week, and it's going to grow from there. When you study Bible prophecy with the war, you can see what's going on. Biden is not stopping us from doing the ground invasion. Netanyahu's all in. All the generals, all the politicians. We have no more left wing and right wing in Israel. Everybody's unified. Then there's going to be a ground invasion, and it might last for weeks and months. See, they're going to hide on roofs, in buildings, in windows, under cars, in trucks, behind rubble. They'll take their own Palestinian citizens and hide behind them. Human shields, that's the way they operate. The reason we're striking hospitals is a few days ago, published on Telegram pictures of one of the hospitals we struck before we struck it. And there were missile launches with missiles in them on the roof. They were shooting missiles off the roof of the hospital. And then they put Hamas troops and stuff in the hospital. So we have calculated that they sent about 8,000 rockets into Israel since this thing started, which is about 15 days. And 500 of those rockets as an approximate number have fallen inside Gaza. See, they got, basement rocket. They make them in the basement. They're not, good rockets, The hybrids slapped together. So that's what happened to the hospital. Biden agreed with it. So it's tense here. In the supermarkets right now, we can get probably 80% of what we want. There are shortages and outages. The other day I couldn't get sandwich meat. Now I can get sandwich meat. Probably because the government bought mountains of it to make sandwiches and feed the soldiers on the fly. It's easy. You get some bread, you put a piece of cheese on, a few slices of sandwich meat, a tomato slice, a lettuce, and you got yourself a little basic lunch, right? So, good, let them buy up the meat. I don't mind. So I don't have meat for a few days. Great, let the soldiers have the meat, America is flying in cargo planes full of military aid, but we're not told what it is. And why should they tell us? They shouldn't. Hamas is telling us there's a lot of surprises for us when we enter Gaza. And that's going to be, IEDs, improvised explosive devices hidden that they could remote detonate from maybe 2, 3, 4 blocks away, watching off a roof or out of a window of an abandoned building or something. They might have booby trap things like landmines or something, or tripcord. They'll be sniping. They have RPG rocket propelled grenade launches, which can be armor piercing, but I don't think they'll bother our armor, but they would bother our troops. It's going to be a horrific, very, very hard battle. And Israel always tries to minimize casualties with the military, so they're being very, very careful. And apparently we're getting a lot of military equipment from America. So far, there hasn't been any massive rocket pelting from Hezbollah into Israel like they've threatened. There was a story on Hal Turner's page. Now, sometimes Hal Turner gets stuff right. Sometimes I don't think so, but sometimes he does. He said, I think it was yesterday, that the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, which is the one near Israel, served the sailors on the boat steak and lobster for dinner. And that's often something they might do before they enter into combat. It doesn't necessarily mean it. It could also be like it was a holiday, like Christmas or something, but there was no holiday. So Turner speculates that it's likely it can mean they're going to enter into the fight. And it's likely. Now, where they're going to enter in, I don't know. But their bases in Iraq and Syria have been pelted with all kinds of attacks, drones, missiles, mortars, I think, from the Iraqi militias and other forces that are basically answering to Iran. And had threatened that, and now they're doing it. So America may plan on retaliating against those militants in Iraq and Syria. They do have air defense systems, but they're immature. They're not the latest and greatest, but I imagine the American pilots still have to be careful. Now, I'm guessing they're going to do that. I don't know. They may decide they want to shut down the second front with Hezbollah, which Hezbollah started, which will free up our troops. We may be able to move some of them out and bring them down to Gaza, but I don't think the problem in Gaza has anything to do with a shortage of troops. It's just these guys have probably planned this for 1 to 2 years and they dug in so tight. I'm sure down there they got food, they've got water, they got medical, they got all kinds of stuff. Now, the other thing, when you just use your logic, okay, for a minute, if you're in a tunnel 40 feet down, you got to breathe air, right? Okay. So, how are they getting air down into the tunnel? Well, this is $1 million question, but the basic drill is you have to have some type of a fan blowing air in. Fans need power, electric or diesel or gas or kerosene or whatever. They got to have power to drive the fan and blow air into the tunnels. So our troops will go around and find these generators. It can't be that hard to find. They're going to be making noise and disable them. That's it. It's simple. But we don't know what kind of booby traps are going to be set by these generators, and it's difficult. The other thing is radio and cell phone communications. As you know, when you're 40 feet underground in a tunnel, or let's say 4 to 6 inch thick reinforced concrete, getting a radio signal or a cell phone signal out or receiving one is going to be immensely difficult. So they might have antennas and they attach physically to the antenna, or they might, I don't know how they're doing it, but it shouldn't be that difficult to find. That will disable them from communicating with the ground. Internet will be out, I believe it already is. And they won't have any communication with the other friendly states of theirs, the other radical Muslim terrorist jihadist groups. Communication will be disabled. No internet, no phones, no radio, and it's not going to be a suitable area to let news reporters and photographers in, because for quite a while there's going to be snipers and booby traps and stuff. So they're not going to be able to allow people to get over there. It's too dangerous. So it's going to be tunnel warfare, and it's going to be very, very difficult. They're not above ground, so, but then they'll be above ground with snipers and ambushes and stuff like that. They don't have an air force. They don't have tanks. They don't have armored personnel carriers. They don't have anything like that. We're probably going to come in from the Mediterranean, and we'll also come in from the east of North Gaza and come down from the top of North Gaza. So we'll hit them from 3 directions when we come in. We'll have a lot of helicopter Apache gunships covering us and jets with bombs and rockets in the sky. And there'll be a lot of artillery outside of Gaza that can pinpoint bomb with the artillery, so if the guys call in coordinates, they can drop an artillery shell or two in there, you know. So this is one big reason we want civilians out of there, and it's another big reason that Hamas doesn't want civilians out of there. So the thing is a mess. Um, Let me think what else I can tell you. There's talk now about what happens after we get rid of Hamas. And many people in Israel want to see Israel reoccupy Gaza again. And the Palestinians will still be there. And this is going to raise a big international stink. They don't want to see Israel reclaiming their land. They want to see Israel not fulfill Bible prophecy. That's what's going on. The other idea we heard is put a buffer zone in, but that's not going to stop a single rocket. It would prevent a lot of infiltrations. In other words, you take a piece of land, maybe 300 yards or something. You put a fence or fences up. So you make a 300-yard wide corridor at the border of Gaza and Israel, and that's no man's land. Nobody can walk through there. If they do, they'll get shot. And that the international community will be mad about, but we might get away with that. I don't know. What they'll probably tell us is put a second fence by the Gaza fence inside Israel so we don't take their land. We just sacrifice some of our own land. As a last resort, that would probably help. We don't know at all about moving back into Gaza. The amount of damage done to Gaza and will be done to Gaza is going to go into many billions of dollars. So, what I think the UN is planning, but I'm not saying it's going to happen, I'm saying this is what they think will happen, is they'll raise a tremendous amount of money to rebuild Gaza. And then the Palestinians in Gaza will have probably something like an 87% employment rate or 93 or something like that. And the wages will be fair wages, so they'll have some money and the economy will build up. And if there is no radical terrorist group operating like Hamas, that money's not going to go in their pockets for weapons. So it would restore Gaza. And I think if the Jews, if Israelites were living there, they probably would be reluctant to restore Gaza because it would be blessing us, and that's many nations don't want to do that with Israel. They think if Israel just goes away, everybody will be happier. That's their position. They don't understand Bible prophecy, of course. So that's the summary. So everybody's waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's a ground invasion. We don't know what will happen from Syria and from Hezbollah. We don't know what Egypt will do and what Jordan will do, and what Iran will do. So everybody's tense and waiting. And we'll see what happens. There's not many flights into Israel. Most airlines have canceled flights up until at least December. There are a few here and there, mostly coming from Europe, and once one or two missiles land near the airport in Tel Aviv, the flights will cancel. Again, so air travel is rough. Tourism is about non-existent, which is going to take its toll on the tourist trade here. The shekel dropped in value some. How much is some? Let me think. 10% against the U.S. dollar. About 10% drop. Let's see. eBay won't ship using eBay shipping into Israel. I suppose you can buy on eBay and ask the seller if they'll just go to the post office and send it. And if they agree, that would work because the post offices are delivering, as far as I know. Amazon says they're delivering, but when you order something, it stays in suspended animation. Will it ever ship? I don't know. I'm trying to get updates from Amazon. I needed a few things, and I ordered them just before the war, like physical therapy, stretch tape, and stuff like that. So most of the shopping we need to do is got to be inside Israel. My wife's traveling, as many of you know. She got stuck in America, can't get back. So I've been honing my bachelor cooking skills to a fine edge, and I'm having a lot of fun. I cooked some meat yesterday. I don't know what it's called, but it was kind of not exactly like a steak. I don't know what it was. It was maybe, I don't know, but I cut it up into slices and I put it in a cast iron frying pan with lots of butter, garlic, and mushrooms. And I had a good old time. I made myself a nice piece of meat. And so that takes me away from the war for a while. You know, I get distracted cooking. It keeps my mind off of it. Streets and activity is a little quieter than normal. Noticeably quieter. Not that many people are moving about. And there's commercial traffic, but I imagine it's reduced. We may see not much of a reduction because a lot of goods come in here from ships. So they dock up around Haifa and there's no real missile risk yet over there. So we unload over there. The port, I believe, is administered by China, or it was. We may have canceled that. I don't. We haven't had trouble with ships. I haven't checked. I might be able to get Amazon to deliver from Europe. They have France, Italy, Germany, big Amazons. Maybe they deliver from there. I don't know. I have to look into it. Our internet's great. Our phones are great. Everything, you know, the television, all that stuff is working. Up here, you know, I'm not down in the south. The south is hit very hard. So that's about it. Please pray for me and my wife Rivka. I'm Moshe. She's Rivka. Pray for our peace, safety, and protection. Pray we don't have to go in bomb shelters because that's horrible. And pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. They're all rescues, or entirely rescues. And like I say, if you want the good updates, it'll be on Telegram. I will do not bad updates, but sporadic updates on YouTube. But just be careful listening to people. When I go to YouTube and I look for Israel-Gaza war, it's a flood of people, and they don't know what they're talking about, I'm afraid to tell you. They just don't know. And they're trying to appear, you know, like they're experts with a suit and tie in a studio with, you know, a big screen TV in the back showing stuff and make it look like they're CNN or something like that. And they're trying to make you think they know what's going on. And how can they? They're not here. They don't really understand. They read it from somebody else. So they're going to be able to portray a certain amount of information to you, but it's going to be old information. And it's going to be second, third, fourth-hand information. So be careful with that. They're not really getting you the information. Okay. They don't know the people of Israel. They don't know what's going on. They don't have the scuttlebutt. They're not using social media. I'm using social media for Telegram, and I'm translating from Arabic all day long. I was translating from Iran in Farsi, but they don't talk about anything. They must have total control of their internet. They talk about a new entertainer or a new store or some athletic event. Nothing. I mean, you can't get anything off of them. It's a waste of time. So from Arabic, I could get Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Egypt, and I have a lot of their social media outlets, and I translate to Arabic from the Arabic to English, and I post the English. But a lot of it is propaganda, so have to be very careful. And a lot of times when I post, I say translated from Arabic, which means that you got to be careful. It could be a Hamas, leakage of false information or something like that. Getting the hostages back out of Gaza is going to be monumentally difficult. If the hostages are in the tunnels, it'll be horrible. You know, we don't really know where they are. I suspect that they're probably in at least 10 or 15 different locations. So that makes it even harder because once you hit one location, if they could communicate with the other location, then they start killing hostages. They did release two hostages yesterday, or the day before yesterday. It was a woman and a young lady, I guess you could say, teenager, and they were intact. And I'm sure they got debriefed by Israel, but we don't know what they said. And Israel is pretty correct in keeping their intelligence secret. Why shouldn't they do it? Some communities have handed out guns, and from the government's handed out guns. My community, which is small, maybe 3 to 4,000 people, and there's no industry or anything here. They got guns from the mayor, who got them from the government. He set up a shomer, which means watchman. So volunteers, ex-military, that are past, going, they're too old to go in the military are. We have gates into the community. They're all closed, metal gates, except one, and there's a few guys sitting there with guns, watching everybody that comes in and out, and they're doing vehicle patrols, and they're doing foot patrols 24/7. So that's nice. We don't have a problem with infiltrators or somebody coming in with a paraglider, a parachute with a motor or something like that. They're all ex-military, they'll pop them, or ex-police. They'll pop them. They won't get very far. The reason they were so successful in killing Israelites when they raided 15 days ago is most of the Israelites were unarmed. So that was an error. That I blame Netanyahu for, because he's been very pro-gun control for his 20 or so years he's been prime minister. He's kept a lot of Israelis from getting guns, and I think incorrectly. So, I guess that's about it, kids. So, I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.